Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled People Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. My Karen mother is expecting me to sleep in a backyard tent on Christmas. After that, knock money off my paycheck for grammar mistakes? Let me point out all the mistakes on my boss's work. And after that, am I the jerk because I'm forcing my parents to choose between two options they loathe? Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen doesn't get to make anyone sleep in a backyard tent on Christmas. But what if I put a little portable heater in there for you, Reddit boy? So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for news stories from Reddit every single day. My Karen mother is expecting me to sleep in a backyard tent on Christmas. I, 18 female, am the youngest out of 4 kids. My siblings are 31, 28, and 25. We were raised by our dad and stepmom, and our biological mom lives in another country with her husband. She wants me and my siblings to spend Christmas with her this year and has offered to pay for our transport and visas. My siblings are all married and have kids and are going to bring their spouses and kids with them. Our mom's house is quite big, and she said she'll spread out air mattresses in the living room and there's a guest room. She didn't say anything specifically to me about where I'd be sleeping, so I assumed I'd be sleeping on one of the air mattresses. Well, one of my brothers told me that my mom expects me to sleep in a tent outside. I honestly thought he was messing with me. But when I asked my mom about it, it turns out she did. The conversation wasn't in English, but it basically went like this. Me: brother said that you expect me to sleep outside in a tent. Is this true? Mom: yeah, I thought you would be fine with having your own tent. Me: why didn't you talk to me about it? Mom: I didn't think it would be a problem. Is it a problem? Me: it is. I don't want to sleep outside. Mom: I don't know what you want me to do. There's too many of you. Me: can I sleep on the couch? Mom: no, my husband likes to watch TV late. You'll be a nuisance. Me: I don't know then, but I'm not sleeping outside. I'd rather not go. My mom told all of my siblings about the conversation, and now they're all mad at me and told me to just suck it up and go. They said I'm being selfish and making a fuss about nothing, and that I can't expect any of them to sleep outside with their spouse or their kids. I told my dad about it, and he's now really upset with my mom and said that she's being a mega jerk and alienating me on purpose, and they had a huge fight on the phone. My siblings are all mad at me for causing this. Edit: my mom lives in Western Europe, so it will be very cold there and most likely snowing as well. Not the jerk. The fact that your stepdad wanting to watch TV at night is more important than you being able to sleep inside tells you exactly where you stand in your mother's priority list. If your jerk siblings continue to pretend that sleeping outside in a tent during winter isn't a big deal, tell them that you'll accept their offer to switch beds with them. Not the jerk. What kind of person expects a guest, regardless of whether they're family or not, to sleep in a tent outside when everyone else gets a cozy air mattress inside? I just can't wrap my head around that. Well, what would you do in this situation? Would you still go to your mom's or not? Please let us know. I think it sounds like it could actually be fun, as long as it's not too cold in there. Knock money off my paycheck for grammar mistakes? Let me point out all the mistakes on my boss's work. Years ago, I took a job in another country for a very small company that taught English. My responsibilities included reviewing and editing lesson plans created by non-native English speakers. Many of the lessons taught EU English, while I'm accustomed to US English. My boss, and the only other native English speaker, was from the UK. Therefore, there were certain nuances that I was unfamiliar with. That being said, I was one of the better people on the team QAing, but I wasn't perfect by any means. There were often mistakes I saw slip through on lessons not assigned to me to review, but I never purposefully called people out for them. It was kind of a crappy company and bad lessons to begin with. But if there were glaring mistakes, I would quietly fix them. One pay period, months after I had been working there, I received a decrease in my pay along with a note explaining that the reasoning was because of X and X mistakes that had slipped through on my work. I was upset as this was not a part of my contract, but I couldn't really contest it in this foreign country. The note did, however, note that this decrease in pay for mistakes made on job duties was for all employees in my department. I knew that there were tons of mistakes on other lesson plans that weren't mine, so I pulled up the first one and began sending messages in the group chat of every mistake I could find, and there were a lot. I did this rapid fire until my boss, who was sitting across from me, sent me a message that essentially said, "Don't worry, I can assure you I am being held to the same standards and expectations," before he got up and walked away in a huff. After he walked out of earshot, my other coworker laughed and said he had messaged her and asked how I knew that particular lesson was one he had QA'd. I told her I didn't know. I had just pulled up the first one I knew there were tons of mistakes on. I didn't get any more money taken out of my paychecks after that, but I left the company shortly after. Edit. Have learned I'm stupid, and it was British English. Am I the jerk because I'm forcing my parents to choose between two options they loathe? I, female 38, have recently gotten a not great medical diagnosis and prognosis. I'm at peace with it. So I've sat down with my husband and figured out my will. Obviously, he will be receiving most of the estate. He has to take care of himself and our kids. He and I both have decent, if not spectacular, careers, and he likes to work. My oldest brother is a gigantic jerk. He's an addict, and my parents have wasted their lives trying to help him. They spent so much of their time and money on him, they had very little for my sister or myself. I don't hold this against them. I love my kids, and I can understand the urge to help them with their problems. The real issue is that my brother has abandoned my nieces with my parents. I tried to get custody of them, but I'm not a member of their church, and my parents cut me off when I left home to get a college education instead of staying home and helping them like a good daughter should. Their congregation helped them hire a lawyer to keep the girls away from me. But strangely enough, after the girls were out of my reach, they stopped getting any financial support. So on my will, I'm leaving my nieces money. Not for them to spend however they want, it is only to pay for their post-secondary education. If it isn't used for that by the time they're 25, it will be donated to a charity that my parents hate. It advocates for women and reproductive rights. I sent my parents a copy of my will so they knew what was coming. They're the kind of people who would take out a loan counting on money from my passing to bail them out. They're calling me a jerk for not giving them the money to take care of my nieces. They're complaining because they're going into debt taking care of the girls. I offered again to take custody with my husband. If I can have them for 2 years, I know I can get them on a path away from that church. My parents won't relent and are saying that they will challenge my will if I leave it like this. Good luck. My lawyer is confident that I have protected the money. I just heard from my brother. He's calling me a jerk for depriving his kids of help and forcing my parents into a bad position. I asked him when the last time he sent them money to help with the kids was. He yelled at me and hung up. My husband supports my decision, but a lot of my family is calling me and asking me to help my parents with no strings attached. Am I the jerk? Not only are you not the jerk, but you are an absolute rock star. I'm sorry to hear about your prognosis. It's a terrible situation, but you could not possibly handle it any better. You sound like you've done your research and you've got things covered, so feel free to disregard this advice. You might want to give them a minimum amount so they won't be able to contest the will. Not the jerk. I'm very proud of what you're doing for your nieces. Your parents suck and don't deserve a cent. On a personal note though, I wasn't able to get through college by the time I was 25 for medical reasons. Sticking it to your parents through progressive charities might feel good and I fully support it, but maybe once your nieces are adults, make sure they're able to receive physical and mental care. Tell me I shouldn't buy delicate binoculars without insurance? Fine, I won't buy them then. Many years ago, I had some hospitality tickets for F1 at Silverstone. I think it was the year Hamilton won his first season. I decided to get some binoculars to take with me, so I go to the local Jessups and talk to a very nice sales lady who seems genuinely excited at the idea of going to F1 at Silverstone. She suggests some binoculars and I get my wallet out. At which point, sales guy comes bounding over, pushes sales lady out of the way, grabs the binoculars I was going to buy from her, and asks what I'm thinking of using them for. Barely lets me answer as he grabs some that me and sales lady had already discounted because they were twice as much, and suggests that they would be a much better option. Mildly irritated at this point, I was enjoying chatting to the sales lady. I list some reasons that she told me that they weren't a good fit. Sales guy rolls his eyes, says she's just a trainee, and that the expensive ones are really the ones I want. Eventually, it takes quite a stern no to stop him from trying to upsell me. At this point, I really just want to walk out of the shop, but I suffer from the occasionally debilitating condition of being English, and that kind of embarrassment is just too much to take. Instead, I'll buy them and go home fantasizing about all of the cool things I should have said. So, card in hand, I'm just about to pay, and he asks about whether I want insurance. No, just that, thanks. You really should have insurance. They're very delicate, It doesn't take much to knock a lens out of alignment. No, it's fine. Just the binoculars, please. You probably shouldn't buy them without the insurance. Finally, given a way out, I nod and agree, and he runs out the back to get the paperwork for the insurance. He comes back and asks me for my name for the insurance. Oh, no, sorry. I was agreeing with you that I shouldn't buy them. Not if they're that delicate. I'm quite clumsy, so I definitely break them. He tries to backtrack on some of the ones that sales lady had already suggested, saying that they would actually be perfect for me. I reminded him he said they weren't very good. Then I thanked him for helping me see that I really didn't need to spend all that money on binoculars and just walked out. Am I the jerk for asking my neighbors to be more considerate? My neighbors are a young couple in their 30s, Annie and Bill. They've had a baby a couple of months ago. The baby came home last month after 3 months in the hospital. My wife is friendly with Annie. We can't have kids, so whenever we have a neighbor with a baby, my wife makes friends with them. We have my mom staying with us, as she is no longer able to live independently. My mom has complained several times that she can hear the baby crying, especially at night. My wife says the baby has bad reflux, and they're trying to deal with it. The baby screams several times a day. It's awful listening to that poor thing cry for so long. It does feel like they aren't dealing with the baby as quickly as they should be. The baby screamed for 10 minutes solid the other night. My wife says that the baby screams when they bathe it, as Annie has told her that the baby doesn't like being bathed. Baby is always crying and it's frustrating, especially when mom needs peace and quiet to recover from surgery. Since the baby has come home, there's no longer any room on our street during the day as we have on-street parking. This is making it difficult to get mom to appointments as she can't walk to the end of the street to get her in the car, but we also can't park in the middle of the road as it blocks the road and can take over 10 minutes to get her in the car due to mobility issues. There had always been at least one empty bay outside our house, but now it's always occupied by either someone from their families visiting or one of the healthcare professionals involved in the baby's care. I reached a breaking point at the weekend. Mom had been home alone all day and she was in tears when I got home from work. Wife was away visiting friends. She said that the baby had been screaming all day long. It was still crying when I came home. I went and knocked on Bill and Annie's door to ask if they could quiet the baby. I could see through the frosted glass that Annie was set on the bottom of the stairs, not even trying to calm the baby down. When she came to the door, she apologized and said she had been trying to calm down the baby, but the new medication was making him constipated. She said that Bill had to go pick up an emergency prescription to try and help. I snapped, as she clearly hadn't been trying, as she was on the stairs, and told her that they need to be more considerate of others, and if she didn't quiet the baby, then I would log a noise complaint with the police. Annie was upset at this and closed the door in my face. When my wife came back, she told her what I had said. Now my wife is angry with me as I was making life difficult for a young couple with a sick baby and is giving me the silent treatment. I feel like I may be in the wrong because of how my wife has reacted, but at the same time, the baby is always crying, and I think they need to be more considerate of their neighbors. I'm going to get hate for this, but thank God you can't have kids. Your lack of empathy and inability to sympathize are outrageous. Real babies aren't like dogs or dolls. I would hate to see how you would have treated your wife or your own kid. You're the jerk. On-street parking means it's game for anyone, even if it's an inconvenience to others. Filing a noise complaint because of a crying baby is ridiculous. I actually hope you do, and you come back here to indicate how big of a laughingstock you are for doing so. Expecting someone to be able to magically stop a baby from crying that has health issues is also unreasonable. That's not how babies work. Just because the baby was crying when you went over there to make your ridiculous demand and wasn't being held doesn't mean that the parents aren't actively trying to soothe their kid and instead are taking a moment to catch their breath, as reasonable parents and people oftentimes do when things get stressful. Am I the jerk for scolding my sister in front of everyone while she's going through a divorce? Me, 29, female, and my husband, 36, male, went to visit both of our parents. They live 8 hours away from us by flight, and it was expensive, but we do it because holidays mean a lot, and also to see my niece, Rue, who's 5. She's my world, and I love her to death. For this vacation, her mom, my sister, Mila, who's 29, was missing for most of our family gatherings and was spending time with her boyfriend and doing part-time. We have a good relationship, but I was really worried that Rue doesn't get time with her mom and angry that she just leaves her with all of us. She leaves in the morning and comes back late. Apparently, this has been going on for months. For a brief context, she's separated from brother-in-law and she wants a divorce and he wants to try. But she came back home because they were not compatible and it's messy. So since she is a single mother, I send her allowances for her and Rue, and also for other housing expenses directly to her, so she can give our parents rent and focus on Rue and have a smooth divorce. I sent her a total of $10,000 and my fund money account, which she has access to and uses. She sees a therapist and I get charged for this as well. Additionally, my husband pays for her divorce lawyers. We both work hard and we're not rich, but we are good enough. I know it's not easy what she's going through, and I've never questioned her when there are withdrawals. But this holiday, I was so mad at how she is and who she's turning into. According to Mom, Rue is missing her mom and has withdrawn so much. She's not been giving them rent and not helping around the house and doesn't even take care of Rue. Mom works and Dad looks after Rue until Mom comes. They're also old and cannot really actively interact with her. My mom was upset at me for not helping Mila out financially, as they are also struggling with 4 mouths to feed. I've never been angry as I was then. I observed her for a week, and the second week I confronted her privately. She said being a single mom is hard and she is de-stressing. I called BS and asked her what has she been doing with the money. I'm glad that she's working part-time, but what is she doing with Rue when she is comfortable? And even more angry that none of the money I give is going towards Rue or helping with her. She stormed out of the room and said I'm ruining the holidays and being judgmental and she's going through so much. I told her how dare she say that after I give her everything, even when I don't have money left to buy new clothes for Christmas because I thought it was worth it. And if she doesn't stop and focus on Rue, then the money stops. I was so mad, I forgot everyone could hear us. All our parents heard it. I felt so awful for exposing all this, but I was so mad. She called me a jerk, and so did my brother, saying I should have picked a different time. Now that I'm calm, I feel like I am the jerk for exposing her like that. Vacation has been awkward since. Not the jerk. But OP, stop the money now and give it to your parents instead. You gave that money to her in good faith that she would use it for her daughter, but she hasn't. You didn't ruin the holidays, she did with her greed. Not the jerk. The gravy train stops now. Where is she spending it then if she doesn't help with rent, which I presume should be the bulk? Your sister is a jerk, an entitled moocher jerk. If you don't like it, sue me. Okay. So a bit of background. I was a dumb college kid and in a mixer met the cousin of a classmate. We hit it off, started seeing each other, and when the red flag started going up, was looking for a way out. Except we weren't as careful as we should have been and she wound up getting pregnant. Was not super excited about the news, but figured I had to take responsibility and at least try to make it work. Stuck with her throughout her pregnancy, was there when my kid was born, would wake up at ungodly hours to feed and change her, but still, the writing was on the wall. Things came to a head and I finally told her I could not take it anymore. I'd happily take responsibility for my kid, but no way in heck was I spending any more of my time with her. She took it about as well as one could expect, and I didn't see my kid for a few months. All this while I was working 12 to 36-hour shifts. I just gave zero hoots. Got a lawyer involved, got a child support agreement in writing, could see my kid on the 1 weekend off a month I got. That was that. Years go by, kid grows, I change jobs, but we still adhere to the old agreement. Except that when mom gets mad or is in a bad mood, she won't bring my kid. Or starts just spewing crap through messages, and at first I took it, but as the years went on, it started to get really old and really annoying. So my kid is now 5 and lockdown hits, and the mom starts saying how she's not gonna bring my kid because of the risk, and I agree. Except I eventually found out she's taking her out to parties and playdates and stuff, so it's not so much about her not exposing my kid as it is to me not seeing my kid. I confront her, argument ensues, and she says those magic words. I'm not taking her, my kid, to see you, and if you don't like it, sue me. Okay then. I get a lawyer who specializes in family matters, and even though in my country it is very difficult to gain custody from the mother, I have a pretty strong case. Mind you, at this point, I didn't want full custody, since her maternal grandparents obviously loved and cared very much for her, and she cared for them, and I had no intention of putting her through that, but it could be used as a leverage point. So we go ahead with the custody battle, and her mom just absolutely loses her crap, telling me, how could I do this? Why am I not thinking about our kid? To which I just reply with a screenshot of her telling me to sue her. So during the time that the custody battle goes on, my kid is remanded to my care, and her mother cannot take her or visit. And let me tell you all, those months were great. Our relationship definitely got stronger. Got to teach her the alphabet. Yes, she did not know it when I saw her. Got to show her my musical tastes, some heavy metal stuff, which is something she would have never been exposed to. It was great. The hearings were dragging on, and even though there were screenshots and proof that showed what a horrible mom she was, my lawyer told me it was not likely to go my way. But we got to leverage that for a better, ironclad agreement and decided to not prolong it further. Apparently, custody battles can go on for months or upwards of a year. So now, instead of once a month, I see her every other week, plus school vacations, plus holidays. She lives in a different city 3 hours away, so seeing her more often was not feasible. Plus guaranteed video calls, plus being informed of anything that goes on with her, such as doctor, dentist, school. Now my kid and I share stuff with each other that we did not do before, and she's much more excited to spend time with me. As for her mother, she is much more civil now, takes great care of what she does and says, and I doubt will dare me to do anything ever again. Edit, just to give some more info. Her mother would be emotionally manipulative, along the lines of she went 2 days without saying a word to me because of something, even though our apartment was tiny. Nothing along the lines of unfaithfulness or trying to pin a pregnancy on me, though it did cross my mind. I don't really care about blood relations since I am very much my parents' son and cannot stand either of them and am not on speaking terms with either of them. So blood ties don't mean much to me, and that's also why I had no help from them in this situation. And as much as I would have loved to have more custody, my work schedule just did not allow it. I would literally fall asleep with her in my arms after being at work for 36 hours with 2 to 3 hours of sleep max. It was a rough time to be sure, but absolutely no regrets. Reply. A slightly similar situation when I went through a messy divorce, through mediation, and it was agreed to a 50-50 split of my daughter. I'm a firm believer a child should have equal access to both parents. Anyways, just before my ex and I were about to sign the dotted line, she was moving out of the family home the coming weekend. My ex decided that as a father, I shouldn't be allowed 50-50. Instead, access should be every other weekend, and I should pay child support. She came up with this plan, having spoken to her half-wit sister, who did the same thing with her husband. He was happy to take the back seat. I'm a very hands-on and involved father, always had been. This conversation happened in the car and is something I will always remember. Conversation went a little like this. X. I've been thinking about the child arrangements, and I don't think 50-50 is fair. Me. Oh? X. Yeah, I think it should be more like a 70-30 split. Or better still, 80-20. Me. Really? I'm surprised you would want that, but I'm sure it's for the best. X looked rather happy, surprised but happy. Me. So, how do you want to have your 20%? X. What? No, I wouldn't have it for 20. You would. You've got this the wrong way around. Me. No, you have. I've agreed to 50-50 because that's how it should be. If you dare try to mess me about at this stage, then it will not end well for any of us. X. She's my daughter, and mums have more rights. Me. Then I will do everything I can to get full custody. It will get nasty, you and I will never speak again, and I will use every penny I have, every penny my family has to fight for full custody. I'll use your health, mental health, inability to provide a clean and safe environment, everything and anything I can to get full custody. We will end up hating each other, and it will be her who will suffer as a result. X. I just don't see why you should be allowed 50-50 when most men don't want it. Me. Ask yourself this. You are leaving the family home. Do I have to allow you to take my daughter? X. She's my daughter. Me. She's also mine, but you have no legal right to take her. I can refuse, and then you will have to fight for access. X. After a pause, she said, let's stick to 50-50. In the 6 years since that day, we have kept to more or less 50-50. It tends to work out that my daughter spends more time with me, closer to 60-40, and it works out well for her and I. Fight the good fight, brother. My stalker invited himself to my birthday dinner. I, female 27, met this person, male 32, in 2019 in a bar in our hometown. He's a friend of a close friend and was soon to be joining the armed forces and leaving for basic training. He asked me out, and we went out on one date. I wasn't feeling it and gently told him this, as one of his parents had just passed at the time, and I was being mindful of his feelings. I've made it pretty clear now on several different occasions via text, Messenger, Snapchat, WhatsApp. He added me on them all, and if he doesn't get an answer on one app, he will try the next until I reply. He's now on home leave for the holidays for the next few weeks, which falls over my birthday. I had planned a night with my close friends, one of which is the mutual friend we have in common. He asked me to go to dinner via Snapchat, and the conversation went like this. Him: do you want to grab dinner when I'm home? Me: I don't think that's a good idea. Thanks for the offer though. Him: just as friends? Me: look, I'm finishing my current job on Thursday next week. I have my birthday dinner on the Friday and start my new job on the Monday, so I don't have much free time, I'm afraid. Him: where are you going? Me: ironically, the bar that we first met in. Him: aw, is mutual friend going? Me: yep, pretty sure he said he's coming. Him: great, I'll see you there. Me: speechless. Him: if that's okay with you. Me: well, the table is booked for 6 people, and there's 6 already going, so there's not any room left for dinner. Him: you'll be done by 20:30, so I'll be down then. I pretty much was stumped and completely missed the trap I just walked into. I'm 100% sure he wouldn't see this as a friendly thing and will spend the night trying to flirt with me, which makes me really uncomfortable. I'm not attracted to this person. I hardly know him or speak to him. I never reach out first, but am polite in my replies and rejections. But he's just not gotten the hint and has expressed that I'll change my mind. I know my own mind, and it's made up. He calls me pet names, which from people I don't know, I absolutely abhor. It makes me want to crawl out of my skin and set it on fire. My question is, would I be the jerk if I told him not to come, or is it too late now and I'll just have to risk him showing up and making me uncomfortable? This is making me so anxious, it's keeping me up at night, so I'm turning to my favorite subreddit for some help. Am I the jerk? ETA. A few people have suggested that I've been saying soft no's to this dude. On each of the 4 occasions he's asked me to hang out one-on-one, I've said a hard no. Examples: dinners, a drive, hotel, and a trip to the Christmas markets in another town. I've said I'm not interested in dating anyone, which is absolutely true. I'm at a fantastic place in my career, starting my dream job in 9 days, which I didn't think I'd get before I was 30. I have a fabulous family, brilliant friends, and my pup, who's like my doggy daughter. I absolutely have no interest in adding a man to my life. Since this happened, he has found my Tinder profile, which goes unused, sent me a screenshot of my profile picture with a comment of, "Nice profile," which I replied, "Thanks." He then said, "Welcome, sugar." I then called him out and told him it's insulting to call me a pet name and to just stop because he's been told several times not to do it. He was very offended and then asked how I was getting on with Tinder. I just don't want to cause any awkwardness with our mutual friend because he and I are very close. ETA 2. Thank you everyone for your comments, advice, and time. I've sent this dude a cease and desist message and been as blunt as I can possibly be. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to change the venue, as getting a table for a large party this close to Christmas was hard in November. It's impossible now. We live in a relatively small town. The nearest city is about 45 minutes away by public transport, and it's a nightmare to get home after midnight. I've also had a long conversation with our mutual friend, and he understands that I really feel uncomfortable with his advances and knows to reiterate the uninvitation of this dude if he reaches out to him. It might not stop him from appearing, but if he does, the bouncer and bar staff will be my first port of call, so I can leave early if need be. I'll be ticked off, but at least I have a bailout plan. ETA 3. I received a response about 10 minutes ago, which read, "Hey, whatever, I'm seeing someone anyway." And then, "Delete my number." 1. I never saved it in the first place, my dude. 2. If you're seeing someone, why are you asking me to dinner? What the heck? Dude is a field of red flags, and I'm happy it's over with now. Hopefully there won't need to be an update, and I can enjoy my birthday in peace. Thank you to everyone who reached out, commented, and awarded. You're all very kind. Am I the jerk for telling my boyfriend he acts like a needy 5-year-old? I've been applying for jobs recently. This morning, my boyfriend, Ian, was still sleeping and my phone rang. It was one of the jobs that I applied for, and they asked if I had a minute to talk. I said sure and went in my office and shut the door. I had been in my living room anyways, but noise carries more from the living room and I was trying to be quiet. Well, right after I closed my office door, Ian got up and I heard him walking around. Then he opened the door and came in. He asked, "Who is that?" "Oh, is that your mom? Tell her hi." I was still talking to the HR person, and he said, "Is that Mary? Who is that?" I got up and waved my arm, trying to wave him away, while still trying to answer the HR person's questions and went back in the living room. He followed me and said, "Is that Kim? Ask if her and Kyle want to go for lunch with us later." So I went in the kitchen instead. He followed me again and started unloading the dishwasher. I started walking back to my office, and the HR lady said she wanted me to come in for an interview Thursday at 1. So I said, "Thursday at 1 works great." While she was explaining how to get there, get in the building and everything, Ian comes running up and says, No, not Thursday. Today. I work Thursday." I thanked her and hung up. I was annoyed. I said, "That was about a job. That wasn't Kim. You're worse than a nosy 5-year-old that needs attention." He said, "Well, you could have just told me who it was." I said, "Yeah, in the middle of a call, I'll say, 'Hold on, my boyfriend wants to know who I'm talking to.'" He said, "Well, you could have wrote it down or something. I was just curious. I get up and you're already on the phone. Sorry, you don't have to be mean about it." He's done this crap before, and it's annoying. So I just stayed in my office, and I've been checking emails and messing around. I'm just irritated because if that HR person heard him, I would have looked unprofessional, and he was disrupting my concentration. I have ADHD, and made it harder for me to focus on what she was saying. Maybe I shouldn't have snapped like that, and I'm overreacting. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Set boundaries. But my whole question is, why in the world do you put up with that behavior? I would snap if someone was following me around trying to figure out who I'm talking to and it's about work. How does him working affect when you can go for an interview? OP. He thought it was some friends of ours and I was meeting them for lunch. Not sure why he thought that, but... Reply. Are you sure he actually thought that? Some people try to exert control over their partners by sabotaging things like job interviews. OP. I'm trying not to think he'd do that. He's made some comments about, must be nice to get off weekends because he has to work, and he asked why I'm applying for jobs when my job is good enough. But I just sort of figured he wanted me to just be happy where I am, like he is with his job. Reply, red flags. Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video. Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.